I'm ready. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Now, if this works correctly, I will appear in the upper right corner. Yeah? You see me? And I can start the slideshow. And so now are you seeing the slide? Okay, that's good enough. You don't need to see me. All right, so live from La Vidas Studios in beautiful Austin, Texas. From La Vidas Studios, yes. Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm Bob, Dr. Mac La Vidas, and I've been a columnist for the Houston Chronicle for 21 years and a columnist for the Mac Observer for almost as long. I used to write for every magazine that ever had the word Mac in its title. I think I was fired from every magazine that's ever had Mac in its title. I was the director of evangelism for power computing, and I got fired. I have a checkered past. I've written over 80 books like these. The Book Montage. Isn't that nice? I can't afford music for it yet. But next year. All right, ready? So, this is my new book. This is Working Smarter for Mac Users. This book is it's a first for me in many ways. First of all, it's my first self-published book. It's the first book that I've actually been responsible for every aspect of, rather than having someone tell me that my readers would like this better. and it's also the first book that was designed and produced as an ebook first and foremost. There is now a hard copy. You can now order a paperback version. I'll show it to you in a little while. But I don't recommend that, and that later when I make my sales pitch, I'll tell you why you shouldn't buy the paperback. Okay, so Working Smarter. This is my new thing. It's my new website. I'm doing a video course called Working Smarter for Mac Users, and it's all about learning how to be productive, learning how to make the most of the time that you spend when you should be working. It's also about learning to overcome procrastination, to banish procrastination, to end the whole I fell down a rabbit hole and lost an hour thing. And here's the deal. I've been a writer for 30 some years, but for the first about 10 or 15 years, I didn't know that I had ADHD. And so I worked like 18, 20 hours a day, and I never got ahead. I was always behind. I always felt like I didn't get enough done, and no matter how many hours I put in, it was a grind. It was like Groundhog Day. And then I found out I had this ADHD thing, and I started learning about brain chemistry and why I can only pay attention for 5 seconds at a time. And I started to learn things that helped me do what I wanted to do, which was be a writer, without working 20 hours a day and turning out half-baked work, because a lot of it was done after midnight on the night of deadline. So what is Working Smarter? Well, it's everything. It's the book, it's the course, it's the website, and it's also got a motto. What's a motto? Nothing. What's the motto with you? There's the website, and there's the motto. It's actually a mission statement. This is what I do. I'm going to show you how to use your Mac better, faster, and more elegantly. And yes, I know you're user group members, but I still think you'll find stuff that you didn't know. Banish procrastination forever, and do more work in less time so you have more time for things you love. This is my new mission in life. I'm going to teach people how to do these things, because I realize how much harder it used to be for me to do the same amount of work I do today and get out of the office by 4 o'clock usually. So, I can teach you how to do that. I can teach you all the things. I can save you hours every week. So, let's see, that's the mission statement. And now, this is very fun because I've never really written a book before that was appropriate to read to people from. And nobody ever asked me to read from like a dummies book. You know, real authors get book signings and stuff, and me, hey, I can't do anything about that light. Can you see that? Ooh, it's coming in through the window. It'll go away soon. All right, so here it is. Paperback Working Smarter for Mac Users. And I'm really happy that I can Alexa, shut up. You know she responds to STFU also. I didn't want to say that in front of you guys, but I happen to know for a fact she'll shut up if you say that. All right, so the thing is, my other books are tech books. They're like, instructional manual things. Oh, you don't need me up in the corner anymore. I can put myself away. I can give you a book cover. Here. All right, if I'm going to talk about it, yeah, there. Ready? This is the introduction. My name is Bob La Vidas, better known as Dr. Mac. Back in 1987, I quit my job in you know what? Hang on. Watch this. Wide camera. It's a little better. I can lean back here. Hang on a second. I'm going to make myself comfortable, and we'll have a fireside chat here. I'll read to you. All right. I quit my job in advertising and became a full-time writer. My wife was the only person who believed I had even half a chance to succeed, and everyone else thought it would be a miracle. My friends and family will gleefully tell you, I am the laziest person they know. I am a world-class procrastinator with the attention span of a gnat. And everyone who has ever talked to me for more than a minute can attest to my stream of consciousness rants, which jump from topic to topic like a hyperactive Super Ball. I also have the annoying habit of changing the subject mid-sentence, often for no good reason. Becoming self-employed was the best decision I ever made, but I quickly realized I was going to have to learn to lick my laziness and stop procrastinating, or at least figure out how to procrastinate less. Luckily, it all worked out, and I now have written over 80 books and thousands of columns, reviews, and articles. I won't subject you to the long, rambling walk down memory lane I originally wrote for this introduction. My editor hated it, and you probably would have too. But since many of these long-ago events had a profound influence on my lifelong obsession with personal productivity, I distilled it into a pithy list I call... What do I call it? Hang on. I turned the page too soon. It's a pithy list I call... Ready? 10 events that influenced my life and my obsession with personal productivity. All right, I have slides for this, so let's put me back up in the corner and turn these guys off. There you go. You should be able to see the slide there and me. Okay, we don't need the cover of the book anymore. All right, you ready? As a kid, everyone said I was a handful. Wait, I'm going to go into full slideshow mode because there's some cool animation and stuff going here. All right, ready? This is Mimo Live from the nice folks at Boinks, and it's just rockin' awesome if you want to do what I'm doing, you know? If you want picture-in-picture and the ability to throw up your screen and switch cameras and add lower thirds and titles and record it all and stream it to Facebook all from one app. It's awesome. I'm going to write a review of it very soon, but it's still a little rough around the edges to recommend. And a little expensive, but it's awesome. It just is. You're seeing the results. Okay. Number one. This is my life and my obsession with personal productivity. Number one. As a kid, everyone said I was a handful. My mother, my teachers, and at least a couple of principals. Mom also called me her little perpetual motion machine and the only 6-year-old who knows better than any adult. I want you to notice she didn't say who thinks he knows better. There was a reason for that. Okay, here's young Bobby. Where am I? There I am. Oh, yeah. My third grade teacher once wrote on my report card, Bobby will either joke his way into the White House or prison. Number 3, my parents sent me to military school as a last-ditch effort to set me straight and break my spirit. It backfired, though, and I left Weiler Academy with a thick layer of newfound rebelliousness, non-existent impulse control, and an impossibly short attention span. Just to mess with everyone's minds, I graduated the 8th grade with the most demerits ever awarded to a cadet in a single school year. And although I made the commandant's honor roll for academics, I was politely invited not to return the following year. I know. I got kicked out of military school. I'm just trying. There's actually a point to this. I'm not just telling you this for the comedy value. Okay, listen to this. My issues with impulse control continued throughout high school. Here's an example. I once blew my nose on a teacher's tie while he was wearing it. And yes, that resulted in one of many suspensions. In high school and college, I was fired from more part-time jobs than I remember, and I quit just as many after disagreeing strongly with the management. In spite of items 1 through 5, this is number 6, I managed to graduate from Cal State University at Northridge with a BS in marketing. That was in 1977, and to this day, I call it my degree in BS. After graduation, I worked at an ad agency in Los Angeles and market research agency for 7 years. At this point, I had no idea what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, but I did know that it wasn't being an ad man. So I somehow convinced my wife that one of those newfangled Macintosh computers would allow me to make a lot more money and work a lot less hours. I was, of course, lying through my teeth. All I knew was that I didn't want to wear a tie or hate a boss for the rest of my life. Moving right along, I think I forgot a picture. Yeah, look, there was my first Mac. I actually produced Macazine on that Mac. Not that particular, but on a Macintosh Plus. We produced issues of Macazine, 116, 124-page magazine, every month. We ate our own dog food, unlike Macworld and Mac User. Okay, where was I? Yeah, after graduation. Let me see. See, I can't see the picture of me. Oh, hold on a second. Hold on a second. I see what happened here. I think I can move it. Hold on. Geometry. Position. Here we go. Now let's see if this works live. Geometry. Oh, thank you. Hold on, I got to bring it down now too. There's a different slider for that. How's that? Awesome. So thanks to Mimo Live, we can go back into slideshow mode and you'll be able to then see the big picture and me, right? All right, so I didn't know if I was cut out for self-employment or working without adult supervision for the first time, with or without a $2,500 Macintosh. But bless my wife's gigantic heart, she said okay and agreed I could quit the job I despised and buy a Macintosh. After taking one out for a test drive. After a brief stint as a freelance typesetter, then a freelance market researcher, and then a freelance takeout menu designer, I ran around my neighborhood walking into restaurants going, "Your takeout menu's ugly." And I'd bring them back 50. And I'd say, if you like it, you can reorder them here. And a lot of them did. You know, I did it on a laser printer. It was way better. They were Chinese restaurants, a lot of ethnic restaurants that had horrible menus. I'd take it home, spend 2 hours formatting it, and it was 10 times better. And I'm not a designer. But I had desktop publishing, so it didn't matter. I hope there are no designers out there that think I'm serious. I'm kidding. But it was all I could do. I needed to make money. And so I sold typesetting on a laser printer. So after that, I got asked to run this Mac magazine called the Macazine in 1987. And that was what I wanted to do, was write about Macintoshes for the rest of my life. So a couple years later, a publisher asked me if I'd like to write a book. So I wrote a proposal for a book called How to Become a Macintosh Power User. It detailed myriad ways I discovered to use Macintosh better, faster, and more elegantly than other users. The publisher hated the title, and when the book came out, it was called Dr. Macintosh. Tips, Techniques, and Advice for Mastering Your Mac. I wasn't thrilled at the time. I really liked the Power User title, but I've come to be able to live with it. Plus, it gave me the coolest nickname a guy who does what I do could do, right? Dr. Mac. Look at me. That's when I edited. That's when I used to edit. And here's what I look like. Oh, wait. That's Dr. Macintosh, the cover. And finally, this is what I look like today. You know, I have Photoshop. I can do stuff. That's one of my favorite things about having a Mac is I can do stuff. Yeah, and Gene Simmons doesn't miss his tongue at all. While I never missed a deadline and still haven't... Oh, wait. Okay, fast forward to the mid-90s. I had sold a few more books. Does anyone remember Stupid Mac Tricks? That was one of my favorites. It was, you know, I talked to the guy that wrote The Talking Moose. He lives in Germany, and I hung out with him when I was in Germany last year. It was a good time for everyone. If you never heard of it, it was 14 really dumb applications on a floppy disk with a like 100-page book. And it was just dumb stuff. It was like one of them, when you ejected a disk, it made your Mac sound like it was vomiting. It was called Mac Barf. Stupid Mac Tricks, you know, the kind of stuff that we used to all send each other links to on CompuServe. All right. While I never missed a deadline and still haven't, I was irritable all the time, had a short temper, and was a frantic, sleepless mess. Then I read this book. It was like 20 years ago, and it changed my life. And you know, people say that a lot, but I mean it. It really did. As it turns out, I have a raging ADHD. When I got assessed, my shrink said, I said, "So do I have it?" I knew I did. After reading this book, it was really obvious to me. So I go to the doctor. I say, I need to be assessed for ADHD. He gives me all this 3 hours of tests. And afterwards, I say, "So do I have it?" He said, "You have so many ADHD markers. You could be the poster child for adult ADHD." So it rocked my world, but it also explained a lot about all of the things that I've told you about, you know? And so I started reading obsessively about ADHD and paying attention and being productive and staying on task and focusing and all the stuff that you need to learn if you have ADHD. And I learned a lot, but the thing that stood out for me was nothing, I didn't find anything that really talked about what to do if you sit in front of a Macintosh all day long. You know, how do you use that to your advantage if you have trouble paying attention or staying focused? And so those are the things that I've been learning over the last 20 years. And so what stood out to me was there was nothing about really, I couldn't find much about using computers to help you be more organized or be more productive, and certainly nothing like Working Smarter for Mac Users. And that's really why I had to write the book. There's nothing like it, and it's really different from all of my other books, which are, you know, tutorials. They are step by step how to do this and how to do that. This is kind of a different book. It's not there. While there is tutorials and step by step instructions for doing lots of cool stuff, there's also tips and tricks for staying focused and how to keep, you know, many people have said the hardest part about being a writer is keeping your ass in the chair. And so one of the things that this book talks about is these are some ways to keep your ass in the chair when you need to get work done. And I really haven't seen this stuff addressed elsewhere. So it's different. And also it's an ebook. Now there's a printed version, right? But it's an ebook. And I'll tell you why you shouldn't buy the printed version. Okay, here's my sales pitch. In printed books, I have no control over the size and placement. Well, I have control over the placement of pictures, but they're too small no matter what I do. And in the ebook, you just click them to make them bigger. Here's the illustration. Ready? That's what it looks like in the book. And then you can tap it in the ebook, and it gets like that where you can actually read everything. Another great thing is I include video. There are 4 or 5 videos in the book, and it's really great to use video for demonstrations of things that might require 4 pages of instruction, but can be shown in 15 or 20 seconds with step-by-step instructions on the side. And the last thing is, because it's an ebook, your copy will never go out of date. I can update it anytime I want, and you don't have to pay for a new copy. If you buy the printed version, I can't make you that deal. You'll have to buy a new one whenever I get around to sending the PDF to the, what do they call it, print-on-demand house. Plus, and this is the worst part, because of the economics of print-on-demand, this is $10 more than the ebook. Now, if you want to know why I made printed copies, it's because at least 2 people asked for it. And print on demand, the way it works is I don't have to buy inventory. I just have to pay an upfront fee and send them a print-ready PDF. So that wasn't too much to ask. So to those 2 people, I hope you're enjoying your copies. To everybody else, don't buy the printed version. Okay, now, before we dive into the meaty, beefy stuff, there are a few more things you need to know. So I created this mercifully brief prelude in a second. But before that, this is kind of the crux of it. I spent 25 years figuring out how to do more work in less time, avoid procrastination. I promise I can teach you in however long it takes you to read the book. All right? Now here, from the prelude, I don't think I'm going to read the whole thing, but I'm gonna read you a few things. Every chapter starts with a quotation from somebody that said something good about productivity, and this one starts with, "Good habits are worth being fanatical about." That was said by John Irving. So reading this book will help you get more done in less time, but to take it to the next level, to become an uber-powerful raging thunder lizard of productivity with more time for things you love, you're going to have to change the way you think. And this is where this book is different from all my other books. I've never talked about thinking before, but you know, this is about habits and how to train yourself to not waste as much. I used to waste literally half of my day at the office doing unproductive things, and I couldn't figure out why. I mean, I thought I was working. I was on the internet. I was doing stuff, watching cat videos. But you know, I convinced myself that all that time in the office was work. And so here's how to use my book. One thing I noticed during my research was that there was no one solution anywhere. No book, no website, no teacher, no guru, no anything, no app. Nothing was 100% perfect for me. And I found a lot of useful advice everywhere, but nobody had the whole solution for me. I had to take bits and pieces of dozens or hundreds of things that I saw or tried or adapted from somewhere else to get my perfect system together. And my system works great for me. But I've documented all of the things that I've tried that have worked for a while or that may work for you. There's lots of stuff here that maybe I didn't find absolutely necessary to add to my quiver, but you might. And so I realized that not all my ideas would work for you. So I'm trying to give you lots to work with, and all I ask is that you read them and try anything that you find appealing, and then continue using and refining whatever works best for you. There's no single path to productivity. This book is a collection of building blocks you can use to create a working smarter system that's just right for you. The only other thing you need to know is this. To become more productive and learn how to work smarter, you're going to have to change some of your habits that deal with time and work. Now, I've often heard that one definition of insanity is, by the way, I've heard that this was said by Albert Einstein, and I believe that not to be true. I couldn't find who really said it first, but doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. If you want to become more productive, you're going to have to learn how to do things differently. That might sound a little scary, but I assure you it's for your own good, and it's only going to sting for a minute. After all, you can't expect to become that raging thunder lizard of productivity overnight. Change is hard and it takes time, and that's why I'm telling you right now, you're going to have to work hard to achieve your goals. I can't do it for you, but I can do my part. And that's to make it as easy as possible for you to change. Just remember, you have to grok the why before I explain the how. Hang in there and you'll discover precisely how easy it can be to change the way you think for the better. So the next thing in the prelude is a description of my days before and after. finding out I have ADHD and learning about productivity stuff. So I'm going to just kind of skim through this. But in the old days, I'd wake up at 9 or 10 o'clock. I'd have a little coffee, maybe get in the office at 10 or 10:30. I'd check CompuServe. This was the internet, by the way, in those days. And I'd, read some forums and stuff. Look at that. I was connecting at 38,400 baud. All right. So I'd sit down and try to write, and a couple hours later, I'd hear Curly Stooge whispering in my ear, "I'm trying to think, but nothing happens." I'd watch some TV. I'd go out to lunch. I'd try to write some more, and no inspiration, so I'd fire up a new game, search for inspiration in all the wrong places. Notice that the dining room chair is broken. Go looking for C-clamps. Go to Walmart to get glue. Come home. Finish one whole page, which isn't bad, but it's already 5:30 p.m. 6:30 p.m. Finished almost 2 pages. I beg the wife to run out and pick up dinner so I can keep working. As soon as she walks out the door, I launch Crystal Quest and play until I hear her pull into the driveway. This was my idea of work. 7:30, recuperating from the meat coma. I decide I need a little TV before I start working again. Blah, blah, blah. At 11 o'clock, I keep pushing on, and at 1 o'clock, I hit the sack, having finished 6 pages, my quota for the day, but I'm too tired to proofread it. I say I'll do better tomorrow. Now, after today, I get up earlier. I get up at 6. I like to get up at 6 because I find I'm more productive in the morning. Your mileage may vary, but for me, the first 4 or 5 hours of the day are worth 8 hours later in the day. I can get more done. I usually get to my desk by 8 o'clock in the morning. I jot down the most important tasks I have to do. I'll show you the form I use later, but I just jot down what's important for me to accomplish today, and then I block out my time in 25-minute increments, and I'll tell you about that in a few minutes. So I'll work for a while. I'll take a break. I'll work for 25 minutes. I'll take a 10-minute break. I'll work on my important tasks, and then maybe at 11 o'clock, I check my email. I do not check it before that because it's a rabbit hole that always takes more time than I have for it. And if I get started on that first thing, an hour later I'll still be answering email and not doing important work. So I kind of segregate it. It comes at 11 o'clock and I spend 30 minutes. If I can't finish it in 30 minutes and get to inbox 0, whatever's left gets deferred until 4 o'clock when I check my mail again. I do this over and over. 25 minutes of working on one task, break. 25 minutes, break. By 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'm done. Now, the important thing isn't that I start the day earlier at 6 a.m., and it isn't that I'm always out of the office by 5 or 6 every night. And it isn't even that I've thoughtfully scheduled all my time all day long. No, the most important thing is that I've learned how to use time efficiently. I think of the tricks that make up working smarter as a melange of 3 distinct strategies. By the way, this is me at 5 o'clock in the hot tub pretending to be a steampunk. Okay, so I look at the working smarter thing as three-legged. Improve your efficiency is 1. That's doing stuff better, faster, and more elegantly. Managing your activities. You can't manage time. Time is time. There's 1,440 minutes in a day. It's up to you how you use them. So you need to manage your activities to fit within time. And then finally, what do you do to banish procrastination? How do you stop doing the rabbit hole, the cat videos, the shopping on eBay for things you can't afford? I've learned to taper those things off or eliminate them. And the thing is, for me, working smarter has to be improving in all these areas, and if you take one leg away, it's firewood. It's not a 3-legged stool anymore. So one other thing, it takes 66 days to change a habit, so hang in there, and also identify your rabbit holes. Keep a notebook or a piece of paper with you for about a week, and every time you find yourself doing something other than the task you should be doing at the moment, jot down what it was and then see what your big time wasters are. You know, for some people it's cat videos, for some people it's eBay or Amazon, for some people it's Facebook. It just, you know, there's lots of things when you're sitting at your Mac that can suck you in and eat up time that should be spent on important tasks. So in a week or so you'll have a list of rabbit holes. Just making the list will help, but then once you've made the list, you'll be able to identify and pull back from them and maybe start figuring out a plan for not falling down them at all anymore, or at least pulling yourself back out of the rabbit hole sooner than you would have before you identified all of these rabbit holes that you fall down. So I figured at this point it's time to show you a few things that I consider, working smarter. These are all techniques or tips from the book. Actually, we'll go back to